Hi, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Live from Cleveland this Thursday evening. Today, we will be rebroadcasting an encore presentation of Careers in the Music Industry, a panel hosted by Battle of the Teal, a nonprofit organization right here in Northeast Ohio. Based in Akron, they bring the performing and visual art communities together full circle across the region. This panel was recorded live on Zoom Friday, August 21st. Its moderator is Cade, owner of It's a Jinx Records and producer of Fuzz, a visual and recording arts zine here in Cleveland. This online event is part of Teal Forum Series, an INeducation event that supports the Teal Art Program's mission. The purpose of Teal Forums is to enrich, uplift, and inspire attendees interested in the arts to achieve their personal goals, grow their skills, and network with others in the community. Special thanks goes out to partners and collaborators It's a Jinx Records, Well Made Music, Wax Mage Records, Grog Shop, and WRUW-FM. You can find more information about them online at battleoftheteal.org. Today you'll be hearing from Heath Gmucs, owner of Wax Mage Records and a production manager at WRUW Records based in Cleveland, Ohio. You'll also be hearing from Dave Polster of Well Made Music and the Earnest Tube, Wallace Settles from the Grog Shop and B-Side, as well as his own production brand, Dirty Jones Productions, and Brittany Benton of Brittany's Record Shop and the hip-hop duo Fresh Produce. Stay tuned. That is what is coming up this hour here on WRUW-FM 91.1. You are tuned in to Live from Cleveland. I am Rachel H.
All right.
So welcome all to Careers in the Music Industry panel discussion. Very thankful to all of our panelists and our sponsors and our collaborators, most notably Battle of the Teal, for helping us put on this lovely event. We're gonna get started and flow through it real easy, try to keep it to an hour, and I'll let all of our panelists introduce themselves. Anyone want to start?
I can start.
Wallace, go ahead.
Wallace has got it.
My name is Wallace Settles from the Grog Shop. I am a talent buyer. I'm the door guy. I work on the computer. I host karaoke, and whatever else is needed of me to make the day go well.
Awesome.
What's up, Wallace? My name is Heath. I'm owner operator of Wax Mage Records. I press for WRUW Records. I've been there for about 10 years. Whatever custom vinyl you want to do or whatever kind of record you want to press, get in touch with me, and I'm the guy that takes care of that for you.
Awesome. Brittany?
My name is Brittany Benton. I'm the owner of Brittany's Record Shop. I also go by the moniker DJ Red Eye. So I DJ, I produce, I write a little bit, I make records, I sell records. So anything that's funky, I want to have my hand in it. So that's me.
Awesome. Dave?
I'm Dave Polster. I'm a mastering engineer with Well Made Music in Cleveland and part owner of a studio called the Earnest Tube. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Our panelists are going to answer a couple questions for us and take some questions from y'all as well. We're going to start with the big question, and we're going to share some experiences. The big question, of course, being, how did you get into the music industry? So Dave, you want to start?
Sure. So I started, I'm mostly an audio engineer. I started an interest in high school and kind of went on from there. Was fortunate to have a few internships and a few mentorships that kind of helped me get a footing and understanding as to, what it takes to separate yourself from the competition in that sense. And just learn as much as I possibly can. I'm learning stuff every day, all the time. And yeah, kind of went on from there.
Brittany, how did you get started in the music industry?
I'd definitely say DJing. Once I graduated college, 2009, my mom was gracious enough to let me take a year off, figure out what I wanted to do. and I was hanging out in clubs and bars a lot, but I, I had to figure out how to make it not be a waste of money. And also in college, one of my degrees is in media arts and science with a focus in like film and video, but with that was always kind of like the audio component. So I always had my hand on some kind of gear. Then when I came home, I had to find a way to justify all of my kicking it to make it not like be a money pit. And you know, just started networking from there, and then started hanging out with other musicians and realizing that as an adult, it's like you can do whatever you want to do, but at a certain point, you know, you got to learn how to at least break even or profit from it. So that's how I started adjusting my steps.
Awesome, thank you. Heath, how did you get started in the music industry?
For me, I was just born and raised with musicians, people like making music, learning music, playing music. I knew it was something I always wanted to do. I was in bands for a lot of years, touring, on the road a lot, and was in a band and had my first record pressed on vinyl at WRUW Records, and from there I've always been blue collar worker, because it's like jobs that you like dishwashing at a bar, or like bartending. I was a dishwasher for a long time, but also like a factory worker, like born and raised blue collar. So I found out there was a record pressing plant in Cleveland, and I showed up at it with my resume, and I didn't know what I was doing when I was doing it, but I was just compelled to be there, and started pressing vinyl 10 years ago. Actually, I had a 10-year anniversary on Monday. Was my 10-year anniversary there.
Congrats.
I've been doing like custom records officially with Wax Mage Records since 2015. So I just I knew that there was nothing else that I could ever do except be involved in the music industry somehow, whether it was like doing something that Dave was doing something that UCAT are doing, like being involved in a zine, or like booking, or like in media, or like something like I'm fascinated by all of you right now, because I feel like we all have the same passion, the same drive to just be with musicians, and to be with artists and people who think like us, and people who we gravitate towards each other for the work that we do. Like I said, I got started just because I was just like compelled to make music and be involved like somehow. And I knew I was hitting my limit as a musician to be a rock star. I was like, how else can I stay involved in this scene? And this is what I did, and this is where I ended up.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your anniversary. That's great.
Thank you.
Wallace, how did you get started in the music industry?
In 2008, I joined a rap group called Moriarty, and we put out an album, and it did well in the city. And before that, I didn't know a hip hop scene that was ever even inside of Cleveland, like outside what you heard on the radio. So I started getting more and more involved, and I realized all the promoters in Cleveland were terrible. So I decided to start throwing my own events and throwing my own shows, and I landed at the Grog shop, and it became a passion and a job for the last 7 years. So that's the short story of it. It's just an all-around love for hip-hop. Yeah. That's why I'm here.
That's awesome. I just realized I never introduced myself when we did introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Kat. I own It's a Jinx Records, and I'm a freelance booker and promoter sometimes.
How did you get started in the music industry, Kat?
Tables have turned.
Yes.
I also grew up with a lot of music in my household. My parents were both really into music. My dad was a huge fan of all the classic rock bands. My mom was a huge fan of, David Bowie, Iggy Pop. So growing up, I was surrounded by it, fell in love with it, doing the visual arts thing. But, eventually you find the DIY community, and the DIY community is very empowering. And once you find that empowerment, you end up booking and getting involved and meeting more people who are doing that. And here we are. So,
nice.
So Dave, you talked a little bit about the mentorships and the internships you were able to get. So it's going to lead us into our next question. What kind of educational pathways did you take, or what kind of educational pathways would you recommend for career fields in the music industry? Dave?
Well, for me, full disclosure, me and Kat actually went to the same high school, which is crazy. I was very fortunate that my high school had a very in-depth audio and video production crew. Basically, it was a paying job, amazingly, and it allowed me to really kind of get started at a younger age. And then I went on, once I graduated from high school, I went to Ohio University for audio production and did a fair amount of studio recording and location recording and, stuff for video and live sound. And the nice thing about that is it really allowed me to, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but it really allowed me to figure out what I didn't want to do. I did a few live sound internships and I realized that, some people love touring and things like that, but just wasn't cut out for me. So I am not a musician either. I don't play anything, at least not gracefully. So that said, I was at OU from 2009 to 2013 and learned a bunch there. And then once did a few was fortunate to land a few internships while I was there. I entered at a recording studio in Chicago called Chicago Recording Company, which amongst other things, R. Kelly is recorded there. Some other more Kanye, Chicago-based, especially hip hop, and they do a lot of post-production for video, audio for video. Was fortunate to intern there for a summer. Like I said, did a few live sound events, a few live sound internships as well, and realized that wasn't for me. So internships are really a nice way to, without fully committing, kind of gauge whether or not something is a right fit. My only antidote to that is you just got to be careful to not be completely like taken advantage of. Some, especially unfortunately in the entertainment industry, some internships can essentially use you as disposable free labor. So you just got to be careful to make sure that you're actually getting something out of it for yourself as well, that's valuable. I'm trying to think what else. But that on an education front, and I also was lucky to I think mentorships are actually really important too. I think especially in the studio world, they've kind of fallen out of fashion, but I think the best experience, honestly, for everybody here is, if you were trying to learn how they do it, is to spend time with them, communicate with them, ask them questions. And I've been super lucky to have a lot of great mentors over the years who have been willing to share their knowledge, and I try and pass that forward as much as I can. If anybody asks any questions to me, I try and anything I know is how I look at it.
That's awesome. To piggyback on that, I also had an internship when I was younger that taught me what I did not want to do. So
right,
not necessarily uncommon. It's kind of what they're there for.
Right.
What about you, Brittany? What kind of educational pathways were you using to get to where you are?
I went to OU as well. So I came out in 2009. So we might have bumped into each other in that new building when it was like 10 years old now.
Nice.
But I would say it was weird. I look back on it and I'm very glad for where I ended up, and everything fell right into place. But I came in as an audio major because of my love for music, but I didn't play any particular instrument well. And at the school I went to, OU, they required 1 year of it. And I didn't know there was a thing called African drumming classes, which—
That's what I took.
See, exactly.
Swear to God.
So I learned in my 4th year that that's where all the non-music, the non-instrumental type of audio people went. So I was running scared, like, okay, well, music and music audio media technology isn't for me. So it pushed me into video and film, which is fine because I had a background as like a photo geek in high school. So it worked. But when I came out, I still ended up doing like a lot of promos for local musicians. I was taping a lot of music shows. So I was still music adjacent. And then I want to say after my 1.5 to 2 years back, I got, more into DJing. And then, I just got more into making beats. I dusted off some old equipment I had since I was in high school, and then just started trying to be more part of the scene that I wanted to see, you know, grow. But definitely, I would definitely say that OU is one of the best media schools at a so-called proper university you can go to. They've got a lot of contacts. They've got a lot of knowledgeable industry people, state-of-the-art facilities, and the instruction is incredible. So, you know, I've also said I made a mistake of I haven't gone back, even though I've kept up with professors and whatnot. But yeah, you know, I'd say even though I should have stayed put where I was, having a well-rounded media education, I think puts me in like it still puts me in a preferable position for where I'm today, and having like a whole like bevy of skills, and maybe just not something as specific as audio. So.
Sure.
Wallace, what about your take on educational pathways?
All right. Also, my educational background is in actual education. I went into teaching elementary school kids, and I went to Edinburgh University. So my background, education-wise, has nothing to do with music. I learned everything from in the studio, working with producers, and meeting people. So, you know, I haven't had like any formal training in the sense of being a music person, being a promoter or a talent buyer or anything. When I first saw the computer in Grog shop, I felt like Fred Flintstone. I wanted to kick it over and step on it. And I had Rachel Hunt and Brittany Schwab sat me down and showed me how to open up Word, every PDF, and do all the small things that a rapper doesn't understand when you're just on stage rapping. So I'm going to say this, just to get this out, because I'm the person here who probably didn't graduate from college. You don't need a degree to be a part of music. The street experiences, to getting on stage and bombing, to having the show where there's 4 people there, to the venue not paying you when you bring 100 people there, those things are just as important as getting a degree. I think if you sit down the top 50 music people in the country, 30 of them probably don't have degrees. You know, it's not the most important thing on earth, but it does help. If you want to run Live Nation one day, you probably should get a degree. But if you want to be a degenerate garage shop employee and do your job well and get good local bands in there and get it sweaty and nasty and smell like PBR, you could do it without a degree. Just take a lot of hard work, a lot of disappointment, a lot of long nights, but you could do it.
Yes, I agree with you. I do not have a degree. I have worked for small clubs and medium-sized clubs. What you said about like working for places like Live Nation or AEG, usually those companies at the higher level are going to require some kind of degree, but not independent venues usually. Heath, what about your educational pathways?
My educational pathways, I dropped out of high school in the 9th grade and started touring and making music. I don't have a college education. I just kept showing up. You just keep showing up.
That's right.
If you're doing what you love to do, if you're passionate about something, you're going to educate yourself. I'm very passionate about this part because I don't have this education. Because I dropped out of school. Like I said, I graduated from the 9th grade. I left high school when I was mid 10th grade because I was in a situation where I had to shit or get off the pot. But that was my life, and that's what I had to do. And I was passionate. I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about the music industry. I'm passionate about what people are doing. And you just like I've just aligned myself. Like my number one thing that I say to people is like, absolutely, if you can get the education, if there's a thing that you want to do and you can go to college and get that education and do that thing, go do it. I didn't have that opportunity. It's a long friggin' story. I'm here now and I'm grateful for it. And I love where I'm at. I love the people that I know. And I couldn't be more grateful for the people that have supported me through the path that I've taken. It's been a mess, but here I am. It doesn't matter the road that you take as long as you are focused and you know what you want to do. You don't have to have the education. The education absolutely helps, but you don't have to have it. You just align yourself. And the golden rule for me is don't be a dick. That's it. And you,
Man, mine too.
That's it. Yes, that's it. We are done. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Can I rip off of what Heath had just said?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I feel like, education can be a great thing, but it can also be a hindrance. I mean, I can say definitely there's many places where like formal training has definitely helped and given me a leg up. But we're living, as we have a whole term called the new normal now. Even before these times, there was a whole media, and Dave, you could probably back me up because we probably have the same textbooks, what they called the era of convergence. And they told us, and I remember in 2007, there's like, this is going to be everything. It's going to take a whole office, a whole staff, and everybody's going to get wiped out with this. And you're going to watch your TV, listen to everything, even produce on one of these. And I thought that was like a reach and it was going to be very obscure and narrow. But as things change and we watch how everything in terms of media platforms converge, there was a lot of people who were out of jobs. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of people who said, I'm educated in this and this is what I do. And instead of being more flexible, they went down with their rigidity, And just one last quick thing, I got this placement from this blog called OK Player during the beginning of the pandemic. And it was a piece called 8 Black Record Stores to Support During the Pandemic. Come to find out, there was only 20 Black record stores. I'm probably the only female-owned one in the country. But of the 8 they mentioned, only 2 of us had a website. So when the blog post or article had dropped, only 2 of us could be patronized. So I can't even tell you if the other 6 out of those 8 stores are even here with us today. And they might have been highly profitable before, the quarantine hit. Right. And a lot of those were the same people with the, disgruntled kind of, this is the old way, this is the real way, and I'm more of a true musician or professional because I refuse to change with the times. So sometimes not having that formal education, like we look at people who disrupted the industry like a Soulja Boy or a lot of what they call SoundCloud rappers, is because they found a whole alternative way to get to the same goal that everybody was feeding through this like funnel type of process. So an education can help and hurt, but there's nothing that replaces the knowledge of a mentor, and also nothing better than having a flexible, open mind to even apply.
I agree 100%.
What you need to know.
Being
I just thought I'd have that.
No, it's totally true. Being flexible is a huge part of the music industry in general, in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and not being a jerk. But nobody wants to work with a jerk.
It's better to be nice than good. It's better to be nice than good.
Yeah, nice and good. That's it right there.
For those who are listening on the radio, Brittany was referring to her cell phone, how we do everything nowadays. When this eventually is re-aired, we're talking about the social media world. Cool. Well, thank you all for your input on educational pathways. Now we're going to go into something a little bit more fun. I want to hear about what your job descriptions are, what you do every day for work. What can people going into these career fields look forward to do 8 to 15 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week?
Why stop at 15?
Why stop at 7 days a week?
Yeah, they should add another day. Dave, you want to start?
Yeah. Sure. I'm what's known as a mastering engineer. It's a subset of audio engineering that the most short way I can explain it is we essentially take finished mixes, so things that are already mixed down to usually a stereo file nowadays, and we manipulate it to whatever format it's going to, whether that be CD, vinyl, etc. I'm super lucky that at Well-Made Music we have what's called a cutting lathe for vinyl record productions. So essentially we feed masters, we feed music into this cutting lathe, and it cuts the grooves, and we're able to double check it with a microscope attached to it, and listen back to it. And then on the flip side, I also do mastering for digital platforms like CD or online streaming, etc. And in that case, there's different factors to take into account, but that's the long and short with my job.
And you do so that lathe cutting, do you work with any local businesses when you cut vinyl?
Yeah, funny you should mention that. We work with Gotta Groove. where Heath works, and we work with other pressing plants around the country as well. We're not exclusive to just Gotta Groove, and we work with other companies. We work with Concord Music Group, which is a pretty big music conglomerate based on the West Coast. Do a good amount of cutting for them, and yeah, just now kind of starting to get the digital mastering stuff going. But looking to and Cat actually, It's a Jinx put out, which I'm eternally grateful for, a great record by Street Gurgler, a local Cleveland band. Their new record Primal Business was mastered by me for vinyl and digital, so check that out. I believe it's online.
It's all
yeah, so
and you work all over the internet, whether or not you know it.
Oh, apparently. But yeah, that's the long and short on that.
Well, thank you, Dave. Wallace, what does a day-to-day at a locally owned independent music venue look like?
A day-to-day at the Grog shop. Interesting. So I'm going to tell you a story without the rapper's name in it.
Nice.
So excited.
All right. So Rapper A's tour bus is supposed to pull up to the Grog shop at 12. Rapper A shows up at 10:30 with a giant tour bus. We don't have a parking lot. Me and John Neely have to block off 8 spots for Rapper A to pull his bus into the front part in front of Grog shop. You all been there before?
The sidewalk area.
Mm-hmm. Rapper A's tour manager rings me and John Neely for 20 minutes. They come inside. Rapper A fights his tour manager in front of the sound booth. We break up Rapper A and his tour manager as we all slither back to the office to have our weekly meeting. At this meeting, they're still fighting as Kathy Blackman keeps the meeting going. We have to run out and buy them their rider package, bring it back. This show sold out. There's 115 really angry kids outside. It's like, it's raining, it's like 40 degrees. Meanwhile, there's 4 trucks outside full of beer we got to load in. The rappers have enough equipment that we barely get the beer inside of the building. There's homeless guys outside begging for money. I have to get them away from our really famous rapper that's trying to get inside this really 400-cap venue that he shouldn't be playing in. Meanwhile, I'm setting up for my karaoke night later on that evening, and I'm trying to book 7 Wednesdays in the January at a local venue, landlocked in Cleveland Heights, away from the freeway. I don't get off. I get work at 10 o'clock. I leave at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm exhausted.
That sounds pretty typical for a venue in my.
That's so clean.
Yeah.
If you want to know what I do for that's a really, really rough day.
Okay. Yeah. It all happens at once. When it rains, it pours.
Everything.
Heath, what does your day-to-day look like at Gotta Groove?
My day-to-day is that I show up, punch in, and I come in smiling, and I put out all the fires while I'm smiling. I do a lot of custom work. I need to train the crew more on a lot of the custom work that I do. The custom work is stuff that people are asking me to put razor blades into their records, or put like fabric into their records, or like asking if I can do like really bizarre things. I think I'm gonna put some embroidery thread into a record, or I've developed this process to put things inside of vinyl that doesn't poke through the grooves and remain playable. I do a lot of troubleshooting and answer a lot of questions, floating from machine to machine if I'm not making custom records, and communicating with clients on a day-to-day basis. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, I've
something.
I've seen some of those.
Simple when I say it, but I'm so tired when I get home.
No, the creative projects that Wax Mage Records gets into are really cool. I have one of yours from a couple of years ago with some fishnet tights pressed into the record.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah, that was for Quality Time Records.
I was about to say Quality Time. Yep.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, Ricky Hamilton like was really put a lot of faith in me and was like one of my biggest supporters. Like right off the rip, he's like, excuse me, he's like, how can we do this? Like what, you know, like let's do some shit. And I was like, okay, what kind do you want to do? And so we just were like knocking our heads together and pushing the envelope, and it was really good to work with Ricky at Quality Time, and he opened a lot of creative doors for me, and still does to this day. I'm still in touch with him. We follow each other, and we haven't talked in a long time, but I know some big things are going to happen down the road. We just haven't talked about it yet.
So Brittany, what does your day look like at the record shop?
Well, it starts before I get to the record shop. I gotta, like, morning coffee, I'm looking at emails, just because I'm working with a lot of different buyers and labels in different time zones. So sometimes people respond while I'm sleeping, but I want to make sure I get stuff out as soon as I can, because who knows how long it'll take them to reply. Then depending on the day of the week, because I had to get out the habit of doing it every other day, I'm processing a lot of phone orders. So I'm at the post office at least 3-4 times a week dropping off orders. Because it's weird, the shop is only open 3 days out the week to the public, but there's still a lot that goes on behind the scenes. You know, then some of it's cleaning, or on the flip side, you know, before the whole, you know, pandemic, just about every other evening I'd be out DJing. So I usually didn't get home till like 3:30 in the morning. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of grateful that that's kind of eased up, because I haven't slept like through the 1 o'clock hour in years, and it's like a whole new thing now. But mostly it's checking invoices, scheduling, budgeting. So it's funny, a lot of the music business is more business than music. So, you know, it's a lot of like accounting, or it's a lot of checking in with like other like professionals to make sure that like I'm in compliance with a lot of things. And then usually at least every other day, I'm checking on new releases. I'm reading music blogs, trying to kind of stay on the cutting edge, because my shop is very niche. So I try and make sure I have what you can't really find in other shops, but also kind of, you know, being on the cutting edge of some trends that I noticed. So that takes a lot of like research and just active listening to music. And usually when I get back from the shop, I'm just at home making beats, you know, working on my next project here or there. So, which usually what happens is I'll then reach out to Heath, and Heath will start getting the records together. I'll call Wallace so we can get some shows and gigs lined up. And I'm sure if I'm working with Heath, then Dave is in the mix. So,
yeah, right.
You know, I feel like it's kind of...
This is like the quadfecta right here.
It's almost like, I would say, basically, if you're an artist and you want to get some traction in Cleveland, I'll sell your physicals. Dave's gonna get it mastered. Wallace is gonna get you promoted and get you shows.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make
and Heath is gonna get the vinyl all the way tight. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Oh, also,
I don't even know how you got
the visuals locked down. Yeah. So it's almost like in-house. All right.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What I'm hearing, and this kind of leads into my next question, how important is collaboration in the music industry?
So important. It's so important. Like I've worked Wallace, I've played shows at the Grog shop. Brittany, we worked on records together. Dave,
we literally work together. Yeah.
You cut all your initials are on so many stampers that we press at Cade Groove. Like, collaboration is key, and then it goes back to that thing like where you said nicely, don't be a jerk, and I say don't be a dick, because we're all taking care of each other here. We all want to support each other. We all want to make this music scene work. We all want to be like, not necessarily like the next Sony or like the next like Geffen Records or like whatever is happening. Like we want our voices to be heard. And the only way that we can do that is to collaborate, is to work together, and we have the same goal. We have the same goal. Like that I mean, that's like really it. This is it. You have to work together. This is the only way that this works.
I agree. I want to not only double down, but triple down on that. I mean, once you talk about the word industry, and you can take music out of it, the point of an industry is where you have a resource and you want to economize and process it at such a scale, you're actually bringing together several different types of experts. So say if this was the hospitality industry, that's going to be your hotels, restaurants. It kind of overlaps with music, maybe in terms of entertainment, but then you're going to have to say, well, okay, well, then we're going to have to maybe reach out to furniture makers or audio systems repairs. We need managers for this. We need property owners. We need accountants. So, you know, you can't have a hospitality industry with just chefs, you know, or just somebody keeping a B&B isn't going to be the hospitality industry. It's all of these things coming together. You know, it's like if you have the automotive industry, you've got designers, you've got people who extract the raw material, you've got engineers, all the way down to the end user or the customer. So if you want to see yourself in an industry, once again, just because the name in front of it, the adjective music, construction, hospitality, that's almost not even, that's just the product. It takes all types of professions to push an industry. Like you'll hear people who say, originally I practiced law for an entertainment firm, but now I just do corporate contract law for whatever industry. But you know, I feel like if you're not looking to collaborate, you're just like a weirdo working by yourself. You know, there's nothing industrial about not being able to put things together to accomplish things at a scale in which you couldn't do separately. So I feel like that's the difference between maybe a hobby or a craft versus somebody actually moving into a profession and plugging into an industry.
Yes. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, that's a really nice, concise take on that. Thank you. Thank you. Dave or Wallace, anything to add to the collaboration discussion?
I mean, they hit it on the head. It's like, you know, as far as the venue goes, you know, if you're the show promoter, you should know your artist really well. You should know the sound guy really well. I wish I knew the guys printing vinyls to make my life easier with my bands.
Hey, hit us up.
Right there.
Right, now I know y'all right here.
Right.
So yeah, y'all hit it on the head. We all got to work together, and people in this city, for the most part, do a good job at it. I think a lot of us older people have to reach out to the younger kids, get them together more.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We don't do well at that, and that's all of us.
Yeah.
But you know, that's something for everybody to think about. If you see a 25-year-old kid being a moron, stick your hand out and talk to him.
Right.
Like, your vinyl looks really bad, or Brittany, like your beats are really, really bad. Like, we need to tell.
Yeah.
You know, we're considered leaders in our industry right now, so it's our responsibility to step up.
It is our responsibility. It's so bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, we're like, wait, I guess it is, yeah. Right.
It's unfortunate.
I can say that was
unfortunate.
That was a huge reason. I'd say the more Gen X tail end of the baby boomer in Cleveland music scene had died, because say the more Gen X tail end of the baby boomer in Cleveland music scene had died, because I'd say I'm 33. I'm just now getting into like the OG phase where I'm no longer, because when you're up until you're like mid-20s, it's all about potential, and then after that, it's all credential. So I remember like
Nice.
knowing that I had this going on, but it was always some old, I'm not gonna say the word, but person who looked like me, right? Not saying the word because you gotta keep it clean, but it's just some person who was in the same kind of music, in the same venues, and they were always blocking. So instead of trying to collaborate, like I've been told several times by other DJs saying, you know what, you're not gonna replace me. I heard your demo CD when you still were putting them on CDs, and they said, I loved it, it's in the car right now, but you're not taking my job.
Yep.
You know, and it's funny because I worked shoulder to shoulder with that person after I had to prove myself for 10 years. They called me and started booking me gigs. And, you know, I felt that.
I was there.
You said what?
No, I was there for all of this.
Oh yeah. This was, and this was also, this was a person who, and who's a great friend of mine now, but they were one of the former managers of B-Side. And I'll just leave it at that. Great guy, because now I get paid. But, you know, I mean, I just felt like there was so much, like the older generation was looking at us when I was coming up as competition versus an extension and possible like representation of a legacy that they built. So now I see sometimes you have like older hip hoppers feeling like they're competing, and Wallace, you could back this up, competing for young people for stage time. When if they played their part as the OGs, there will always be a place for them at the table. But now it's old bull versus young bull, and you know the old bull is going to get slaughtered. It's just a matter of time. So now they're on the outs, and they're wondering, like, you know, what's going on. So I feel like we've done better with the intergenerational kind of outreach. I feel like the 30-something-year-olds are hating less, and this might just be the hip hop community, are hating less on the younger folks. And I could say the 40-plus-year-olds were kind of just blocking us out of the Cleveland scene, which is very small, and it's not big enough to be territorial. So, you know, I'll just leave that there before I get in my feelings.
Well, y'all know, you know what? I'm like Wu-Tang. I'm for the kids. I love them. Eddie Jones is for the kids.
Yeah, bring that energy. Bring that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bring that energy.
The energy is so good. The energy is so needed. We all need working together.
And I always want to support. I always want to support the bands that are coming up and the kids that are coming up through the scene. Like I'm blown away by some of the music, the new music that I'm like coming across. I'm just like, why did I think of this 10 years ago? This is amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I want to be supportive of that. That's what makes this scene good, is when people are like carrying each other and supporting each other and promoting each other. Like I want to be a part of that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Brittany knows. Last time I saw you, Brittany, I walked into your record store. One of the artists I represent. What was he? 26, 25?
Oh yeah. I think
like
it's
you always catch me one of my artists. That they need the guidance. That's what I'm here for. So.
You are that's in your job description that you sent me, like artist development, artist growth and development.
Yep.
So that leads me to my last like official question. I think we've already pretty well answered it, but we can go in depth. We're talking about collaboration, but at the end of the day, we're supporting musicians, we're supporting artists. So what does that look like in your day to day? That's a huge part of it. How does that factor into your jobs?
Well, see, I'm with my artists all day. Like they were here today at my house, you know. So you have to keep this. How do I say this? But that's like, oh man, you want to keep tabs on them, almost like they're your children. You know, make sure they're not doing nothing
tabs on them. They are your children.
Yeah, I know they are, because I don't have any. That's like. So you know, it's just working with them, and I think honesty is something that's really lost with everybody. You can tell somebody that sounds cool to death, and they're never gonna get any better that way. So I think we all need to toughen up on our singing a little bit, because there's a lot of trash that gets thrown out into the atmosphere that the people on this panel could have prevented from getting put out. You know that. We've all heard a product really bad, and you know you could have told a guy like, "Don't release this. This is terrible," but you didn't. And we all got to stop doing that.
Dave, I know why you're laughing.
Let me put it this way. The job sounds glamorous, a lot more glamorous than it does. There's a lot of times that...
There's some moments that it really hurts.
Yeah, there's some things that, you know...
Like, who let you do this?
I remember once it got a groove. We cut... Heath, I think you were there. Well, no, not that. But there was one record. I remember when I was working in quality, we cut a record that was just mostly silence for like 20 minutes, and then just somebody laughing.
Oh yeah,
for like 10 seconds. Do you?
I actually bought that.
For
so there you go.
Who don't know, creating, producing, and releasing a record costs many thousands of dollars.
Yes. Yeah.
So my point is, and Heath is clearly into that. So everything is subjective. So don't have don't have any strong biases. Some people.
It was hard to QA. I know it was hard to QA.
Well, mostly silent. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
A lot of issues potential there.
Well, Wallace, you're bringing these kids up. You're like critiquing their beats, critiquing their like you're helping to produce these things. Like what are you telling these guys when they come over for dinner?
I don't know how to make beats, and I'm just a very average rapper. But I've been listening to hip hop since 1988.
You know what it's supposed to sound like, though, right?
Yeah, I know what sounds bad. When it sounds bad, I'm usually right.
Yeah.
Like I'm right 90% of the time. Like this is really bad. Go ask somebody else that won't lie to you.
Right.
But then they find somebody that won't lie to them. They're like, "This is really bad." I'm like, "I told you it's really bad." You know.
I think that's the hardest part of the music industry, because you can find somebody, a musician, an artist who's like so passionate about what they're doing, but you're just like, you're really close, but no. That's the hardest part.
Well, a lot of that I think comes back to maybe that mentorship aspect that we were talking about earlier. Wallace, it seems like, is acting as a mentor to a lot of these people. And that's
hip-hop kids.
I've personally made some really bad music in my time. And I didn't know it until later. I wish I had somebody telling me like, this is not good. I wish I had like a mentor in that, and that I probably would have been a musician longer than I have been, as opposed to what a blue collar like factory worker. But who knows? Maybe I'm just like not good at that part.
You're very
part of that. Yeah.
I was about to say Heath's an excellent bass player.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Leave me in the back.
That's not what I meant, but fair enough.
In the back.
Brittany, how do you feel about the artist support aspect of the conversation?
I think that artist support is essential, because I don't think anybody fell out of their mama's skirt completely just well-rounded and dope, So I think, and I'm not gonna lie, I was listening to like some old like Destiny's Child CDs from earlier, and I know by then, say Beyonce and company were already like 10, 12 years in the game when their first album dropped, but just to hear like, say maybe Beyonce when she was part of the group, and then, all the other influences and things that she had since, or just even, and I'm just going to keep it very pop. You think of Michael Jackson, without Quincy Jones taking him in for his first 2 albums and really rounding him out and giving him a good start, it's where would that be? If you look at, for example, somebody who needs to get back with their mentor, look at Justin Timberlake. Like, he was basically, his mentorship was so tight, he basically just had other people doing the work for them. But long story short, I just feel like a mentor is better than a classroom. You know what I'm saying? A mentor, that's why like you watch movies and it's like rich kids have a tutor, and it's just like, it's undivided attention. You're seeing things happen in a real life setting, and you can ask questions. And also the mentor has a vested interest in seeing your success, whether it's monetary or they have an affectionate relationship to you. So I just think it's essential. And I think Cleveland's scene, because Cleveland is a major city, we're optimally located. There's no reason our scene isn't a lot more well-rounded and bolstered, except for that generation divide and lack of, the olders reach to the youngers. But I'll also put this on the youngers that, hey, it's not enough to just say, yo, I want to be down, I want to know what you do. It's like, skin in the game.
And show up.
Here, you might have to help, make a food run. You might have to hook up the cables before the studio session starts. You might have to be the person that is the procurer of creativity enhancing substances. But you have to prove your value too, because sometimes it's like, I don't want somebody just like another mouth to feed hanging off of me, slowing me down. But if I got somebody, like if I'm going to a gig who's going to help carry my speakers, do this, help me break down, I don't mind letting them stand right next to me and ask me a million questions.
Right.
So I think it's value in, value out, kind of like an internship. Once you prove that you can provide value to a mentor, you as the mentee, you know, can have access. Because also I come from the school as the game is to be sold and not told. So I don't agree with giving away free game unless it's your child, but even they got to do chores. So if you want to be a professional, you got to have a mentor for sure. But then also, if you're looking for that guidance, you have to say, yo, I'm at your disposal. Let me be your apprentice. Yeah. And sometimes that's doing what we call the BITCH work. You know, because if you have no specific skill, the only thing that you can offer the value is your sweat equity. So you might have to lift and do some grunts, but it's not always going to be you. But that's that whole Daniel's son, wax off, wax off. 1 minute he was washing windows. Next thing you know, he was winning karate tournaments. And it all kind of just, you know, leads in a certain direction. So to me, also just another add-in, I'm a Spanish teacher, right? This is my first year that I'm not teaching in school. So it's always been my nature to impart information, even when it's just my job. So I'm a big supporter of olders, youngers, older, but it has to be a culture that the children are groomed to seek mentors and the professionals should be looking for somebody. Because if you don't have mentees, it just dies with you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how great is it to be artist A, B, C, you did it all, but 1989, when certain sequencers and synthesizers went out, you went out too, and there's nobody to bring you into the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Now you're just an afterthought. So like I said, you know, everybody has to be more connected.
The first thing I want to do is to teach. One of the only things that I want to do is to teach people, to teach somebody what I'm doing, to give them the heating and cooling parameters of like how PVC and how vinyl is manipulated. Like I want to have that student. I want to have those students. I want to be able to impart this information on you. Yeah,
I'm serious.
Like I want to tell you everything. This is the most amazing thing that I've ever done in my life, and I want you to know every single tiny bit of that. I want you to have all of the information so you can like go forward and do better than I ever did. Like I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of what I've done. Proud of where I'm at right now. But I want somebody else behind me to do better. I want to support that. I want to give my energy to that.
And I think that mentality is kind of what separates people that ultimately end up successful or not successful to an extent. You know, the willingness to impart information, and like you said, Heath, not just to show them or teach them, but to hopefully they excel, you know?
Yeah, no, I want someone to be better than me at what I've done. Yeah.
Right. And from a community standpoint too, when I'm done working on a project and once it's officially been released and whatnot, I try my best to spread the gospel about whatever release it is, whether it be on social media or people that I think would be fans of that music on a personal level, especially if it's local, just to try and, you know, get something going for them if they don't already have something going, or if they do, help further promote it even more.
And I can say from working at small venues to large venues, all of the things that we have said are true, no matter what scale you are working at.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a question here. Dave, how different is mastering between vinyl and mastering for digital, for streaming?
Well, I'll give you the abbreviated because I could go on about this for a while. But long story short, with vinyl, there's not so much to worry about in the sense of like loudness wars and things like that. For those who aren't familiar, there was a big thing, Brittany, Wallace, and Heath, I'm sure all know about this too, where music, especially in like the, you know, early 2000s era predominantly, was just completely limited, and it was to supposedly give a competitive edge to music being played on the radio, you know. So if you have a song on shuffle, is my song as competitively loud as the next one? With vinyl, that's not really a factor. With vinyl, you know, you gotta take into account like how long the running time is. That can dictate, you know, how much volume level you can get. And with the CD, you know, you're more kind of focused on the volume level is still important, but there's different aspects. Like with vinyl, you're prone to sibilance issues. You can have issues with bass that can cause the needle to skip, things like that. So that's the long story short, and I don't want to eat up too much time with that. Feel free to reach out to me, though. I think Kat's posting resources. If anybody has any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer any.
Thank you, Dave. We've got another question up from Delaney. What is the best way to seek out a mentor or get involved with other people in the industry? Anybody want to take that one?
First off, depending on the industry, there's plenty of ways. So music in the Cleveland area, it's very easy. You can go to venues, start figuring out who the bar manager is, who the booking manager, talk to the sound guy. Social media, you can reach out to people, but I'd say, you know, just start at the venue level, you know, but then also on the flip side, I'd say for every industry, there's a plethora of even trade shows, conventions, conferences, and that's where you really, really, really want to network. So you want to get grounded in your local scene. And fortunately, even though it's underdeveloped in Cleveland, Cleveland's a major city, and you still have first-rate access to a lot of things because we have the venues. But I would say for example, if my thing is technology, or I would go to like, make sure I'm at the NAM conference. I make sure I go to this conference. You could just look up trade shows, conferences, conventions, and at least try to go to 2 to 3 a year. If you're a lawyer, you know, you got to keep up with the journals, you got to keep up with the conferences. So that's what keeps you sharp, and you get to see what's coming on the horizon. And also where you are, you want to be as active as possible. Instead of looking at, I want to be in the industry because I want to be. So once you're completely selfless about it, that's how you become, you know, the man or the woman. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like when I came back from college, I can honestly say I knew Wallace as the guy who I need to go to if I need to get a venue, or if I need to get a show, or if I need to get into Grog Shop. You know, I learned later that you did music, but I had no idea. But I feel like what you do is so much greater is because it's like, it's a foundation and it's a platform that's, you know, definitely been there for so many people. So I would say, you know, you'll find out your mentor by being a part of the like just being out and about. And I know that's hard now. But then also, once you get your niche, start looking up professional trade shows and conferences, because then those are international, those are national or regional, and you really start to see how far things can go. So
gives you some perspective too, beyond just your local scene too, you know, what's yeah.
You can lead your local scene because you're the ear to the outside world, and you can really be the tastemaker, you know, or the kingmaker, you know, depends on how you position yourself.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I don't know. Just, I mean, if
that was perfect.
It was perfect, but like get in touch with one of the 5 of us.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah, we're case in point right here.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know,
we'll like personally direct you in the direction that you want to go in.
Yeah, those people will make themselves available.
100%. We're all 100% available. Yeah.
Yeah, I growing up, my mom always sang the Mr. Rogers song to us, and Mr. Rogers has always been a big part of my life. But there's that one quote from him, you know, whenever you're feeling a little down, just look for the helpers, and then you'll get a little hope. And that, I think that applies to more than just depressing scenarios. You know, if you want to help, look for the helpers and join. You know, just get on in and get your hand.
I think you just made a panel of Cleveland's music industry helpers.
Music industry.
We should make a package price for somebody who wants a project from beginning to end.
360 deal.
You can bundle that. The 5 of us can bundle that, and you can have a complete package from idea to product.
Seriously. Why do we not run a company yet? I mean, we all run a company.
Yeah, me too.
Why are we not doing this together?
That's the next thing.
That's what I'm saying.
We need to make another Zoom.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
That's a nice place. I think that's a nice summary place.
Cheers that.
Yeah, so I want to thank all of our panelists for being with us and sharing their experiences and their insights. It's very informative and hopefully very helpful to everybody watching. I would also like to take this time to thank again our sponsors and collaborators, Battle of the Teal, WRUW 91.1 FM, also Gotta Groove Records, Well Made Music, Brittany's Record Shop, and the Grog Shop. Of course, now we're in a pandemic. I'm going to do one final plug. for the National Independent Venue Association. If you haven't already, please go to their website, www.niva.org, and sign the petition to help save our stages all around the country.
Yes.
That's it. That's
We've
it.
all signed it.
Yeah.
Can always use more help. So on
All
that,
right.
yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to any of us, please do so. We'll be around. That's
Cheers, guys.
it.
Peace
Thank
out.
you.
Love you.
Bruce.